So you just finish up dropping a deuce in the restroom. You stand up, dead silent. Other stalls are filled. You're going, you're getting ready, you're getting everything put back on, and you go to put on your belt, and that's been my life. Hey guys, Work here, welcome back to the bench. Today, we're going to be doing a review. I got sent a couple of belts from a company called Core Essentials. Now, you can buy a belt pretty much anywhere. Everybody and their brother makes a belt, right? They're kind of like Glock holsters. But the unique part about the Core belts is this. Instead of holes, they have a very unique zipper on the inside of their belt. And that zipper goes into here. And you can see that it's got this little lever system here. So it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty nifty in the way that it works. As you insert the belt through, that little arm grabs onto those zippers, and what it makes is an almost infinitely variable belt. It's a really unique system that you don't see very often in belts. And what that does is that gives you a relatively unique ability to properly cinch down this style of belt. Whereas with a traditional belt with the holes, you're stuck with whatever tightness they decide that you need. Usually those holes move in 1-inch variants. So especially when you're carrying a gun, sometimes it can be difficult to get that belt properly cinched down. One hole's too loose, the next hole is too tight. So what the Core system does is it alleviates that by giving you the variability within approximately 1/4 of an inch intervals here, letting you properly fit down to the 1/4 of an inch in actual tension that you're using for a belt. So Core actually sent me two belts. They sent me this one that you've seen so far, which is it is a nylon, kind of like a tactical style belt. The other one that they sent me is this. It is a very nice leather dress belt. So in looking at the construction of these, they are both constructed in very similar ways. They're constructed in a layered system. This is the tactical style. Here's the backing. Here's a nylon insert inside it to maintain its rigidity. You can't crush this thing. You can bend it and flex it, but it's relatively rigid in this direction. And then on the top is your nylon weave. The leather belt has that same insert in there. However, it is leather bound all the way around, giving it a really nice look. It does look very, very professional. The belt buckles that they sent me these two, so I don't know what all options they offer, but on my tactical belt, it's running this black style. It's kind of like a crinkle coat a little bit, kind of like you would see on like a powder coat, a little rougher than a powder coat. And then for the dress belt, a very nice brushed satin. And it again, this belt looks very professional. It's very nice in that aspect. The buckles are both pretty well made. They are not chintzy. They're not lightweight metal. They are a heavier metal. And they do have a little bit of a hinge back here to give you that flexibility around front, so it's not just a, 2.5-inch long, very rigid piece of steel. The mechanism that they use here, this is the mechanism that actually grabs onto these little, the zipper portions of it. And the mechanism's actually, it's pretty well done. The spring tension could use to be a little bit stronger on there. Some of the times when I was doing it, it was fighting me, and it would loosen up a little bit. So I would say that they could stand giving that a little bit more spring tension. It's really light as it is, which is nice because that does make it easier to take off, but it also makes it so that it's more likely to accidentally get flicked, because this portion right here is up against your body. So sometimes if you're trying to get that nice and cinched down, it won't quite fall back into that hole, and you've got to kind of help it out a little bit. So the fitment of these, it's really nifty the way that they do these. The belts are all universally sized. They just send you a long length of the belt itself, On one end is the zippered portion, and it's about a 10-inch portion of zipper. So you got about 10 inches worth of flexibility and variability here. And on the other end, it's just an end on it, where you can see that there are numbers along the belt showing you the belt, the actual, the waist measurement. They're not exactly right. They run a little bit big as far as the actual waist measurement goes. So, you know, be careful with that. If you're doing it, don't just cut it straight to your pant size, I don't think. It's better to err on the side of big, because you can always chop off an extra inch or two. Very difficult to put these back together and increase that length a little bit. So that is nifty. When you're sizing them, what you do is you can figure out the proper size, and then I just took a pair of scissors and chopped off the end. It's not the prettiest cut, but it doesn't really matter because you're not going to see it. Once you get that cut, you actually place it inside the buckle here. It has a toothed hinged portion here, and then a couple of set screws to really get that set in there. So that end is not coming out of there. I don't think I could humanly pull enough to get that end out of there with how much is actually grabbing onto that. So once you get it properly sized, you get along to wearing it. So let's talk about wearing it a little bit. In everyday use, it's an okay gun belt. It's an exceptional belt, but it's an okay gun belt. Now, what do I mean by that? Gun belts tend to need to be very rigid they're holding up a lot of weight. You know, guns are not light, especially if you carry like a compact or something like a Glock 19 or a P10 or something like, or a P10C. They're not overly lightweight, so they're holding up a lot of weight. And even though this does have that nylon insert, it is still, I mean, it's kind of flexy. And you can see that this one has, you can see that variation in the shape. It actually should be about like that with the variation in the back. It does deform slightly. The other gun belts that I have, I've worn for years and have not deformed, and these have deformed. I've worn this a month and a half now, I think. You know, and I've worn the kind of rigger's belt every day, and I've worn the nicer kind of dress belt on dress occasions, obviously. So so I've worn them a lot. I wanted to get a lot of time in on these before I brought it to you guys and let you know what I thought. But they're okay gun belts. Very good belts, okay gun belts. Again, the biggest thing that they're going to bring to the table is that variability. So if you're used to wearing a gun belt, or one of those heavier belts that are specifically made for guns, and you just can't get that tension right, this might be a good option. Would I drop my EDC gun belt for this? Probably not. The belts that I have chosen work really well for me. I absolutely love them. These are a very good kind of secondary option. It's a good lighter weight option. Again, the belts that I normally carry are heavier belts. They're made like that. And so for like shorts or something like that, this thing is awesome because it's a nice lightweight belt comparatively to some of the heavier gun belts. It is easy to use. It is kind of loud, as I kind of mentioned. It ain't quiet when you're putting this thing on. So don't try to do it around sleeping children or trying to go incognito in a public restroom. Another thing that kind of throws me off about this. So this is their. Let me switch sides. This is their little. I don't even know what these are called. Do these have a name? That actually hold on to the extended portion of a belt, and it's just a nylon loop with Velcro. So that was kind of weird, and it's not attached to the belt in any way. I've lost it like 3 different times, which was absolutely annoying. And at least in what I got, the dress belt doesn't have one. So you got to be a lot more precise with your cut on the dress belt to try to get this short enough so that it slides right underneath one of your belt loops, so that you don't have your little wiggly dangus here, because that's just annoying when that gets like under a shirt or like a dress jacket or something. It's annoying. Fit and finish, going back to that a little bit, again, they have warped a little bit. The dress belt has warped slightly as well. You can see that it's not a straight across anymore. It does have a little bit of a warp. The rigger belt here, one thing I have noticed, I am seeing a little bit of wear on this corner here. Now this corner is the corner that actually first interfaces with the belt loop. So when you put it on, it it's the first corner that's going to hit all the time. But I did, it's getting worn, and it's getting worn bad enough over just my month of use that another couple months of like everyday use, and that's going to start falling apart. So keep an eye out for that. You just might have to be, I don't know if being careful would end up solving that, or I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine on that. But yeah, so they're nice belts. They give you that adjustability. They really are comfortable. I will give them that. They're very comfortable belts. Again, the Rigger's belt is very light. The dress belt is not heavy by any means. It's slightly heavier than the Rigger's belt just because it's got full wrapped leather around it rather than just the like one half of the nylon. But it's very nice looking. I have yet to find an actual gun belt that's as professional looking as that. So if you're looking for a high quality like dress belt, these guys are awesome, because that's as close as you're going to get to a real gun belt that's going to look like an actual suit dress belt, without like the traditional like open buckle of like a leather belt or something. They've got that nice designer style closed belt buckle, and it will hold up a gun. Again, it's not a bad gun belt. It's an okay gun belt. So you know, especially if you're carrying something like a SIG P365, a Glock 43, a Smith & Wesson Shield, a Glock 48, a 43X, any of those like smaller guns that are kind of coming up and being really popular now, these will work great for them, because they're not heavy guns. They don't require quite as much belt to hold them up as the other ones, as like a Glock 19 or a P10C or a Smith & Wesson M&P Compact, you know, one of those. It doesn't require quite as much belt, and these are great for that. Again, and especially if you're looking at a dress belt. If you're looking for a dress belt to hold up one of those guns, Core Essentials is where it's at. I don't think you're going to find a better one. Okay, so now the point that everybody's got a question about, price. You know, because that's one of the things that keeps a lot of people, unfortunately, from buying a good quality belt, is the price of said belt. These both come in right about 60 bucks. This one is in their gun belt line, and this one is in their dress belt line. But again, both of them are like $59.95 or something like that, and then plus shipping and handling and all that good fun stuff. But, you know, I really suggest checking these guys out. They make a really unique product, especially, again, if you've got issues with belts not fitting quite right, or if you're looking for a high-quality dress belt and don't necessarily want to be carrying around like a compact or a full-size gun. If you're carrying like one of the smaller guns, absolutely. Even if you're carrying around a compact like a 19, my P10C is held up by their dress belt, and it's a little bit less sturdy than one of my like dedicated gun belts, but it looks so much nicer that it's not even a competition as far as visual goes. You can wear one of those and people aren't going to think you're wearing a gun belt, whereas if you wear like a leather or a synthetic gun belt, especially like a tactical gun belt, people are going to know. So check these guys out. Again, Core Essentials. Their website is coreessentials.com. Give them a look. Again, you know, the variability on the sizing is a very unique aspect to these guys, and if you're looking for something like that, check them out. That's it for this time, guys. A review of the Core Essentials belt. If you got any comments, go ahead and write them down below. Any questions or anything like that, I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Remember, guys, I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, get to work.